Welcome back to Lifelines, the Brotherly Guide. We're your hosts, Justin and Dominic Mazza. And on today's episode, we're interviewing my friend, Kristen, who I met through LA Kick. Kristen is a dancer, a teacher, a kickball director, and a world traveler. We're going to explore some topics around school, traveling around the world, maybe some wedding talk. So without further ado, here's Kristen. What's up, Kristen?
Hey, you guys were a little frozen on my end for a second. Can you hear me? Am I good?
We can hear you. I think you're just a little delayed. Dom, thoughts?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like lagging. It's like freezing. Then I see you guys and I don't. But hi, happy to be here today. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah,
How's the
good.
summer going?
It's good. I love being a teacher off in the summer with, having to wake up to a really early alarm every day and having to work.
What time do you get up normally for work, KP? And then how does that differ in the summer?
Oh, I really take advantage of this in the summer. So during the school year, so I work in the city where they have alternate side parking. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. just for alternate side parking to get a spot. And then a lot of us will get a spot and we'll literally nap in our cars. And then we'll go in when it starts. But we literally get there just to get a spot and not have to park really, really far. Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, a little better. I can wake up at 5:30, 6-ish, depending on if I have a first or second period class. But yeah, definitely an early wake up. So you can imagine, working or playing an LA Kick at night. When we stay out late, I'm on very little sleep those nights sometimes, but I pull through. And in the summer now, I literally can go to bed. I feel like I have sleeping freedom. I can go to bed at 1 a.m. and I can wake up at 10:30 the next day, and it's beautiful. Nowhere to be.
Good for you. Yeah, that's always something when we play LA Kick. It's nice that for me, I work from home, so not having to get up super early. Dom, I know. So Chris and Dom plays in intramural soccer up in Vermont, actually in a different club that we roll up to as part of LA Kick, part of a larger entity. But Dom, do you?
No. The soccer is not part of.
Game on Vermont is right,
Vermont. Yeah.
Do you have weeknight games or just weekends?
In the summer, I play on Sundays and Thursdays, and then I've been playing on Mondays recently as well, and that's typically for the makeup games.
Are they late?
They're either at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
That's not too bad.
No, because there's no lights, so you have to play. Really, that's what dictates it.
Yeah, we have some people don't start playing till 9:15.
In the winter, we go to the late night schedule, and it'll be I think the latest game it could be at 10 p.m.
That's brutal.
And each game is 50 minutes, right? So then you're done at 11. And then luckily my commute's not too far, but there, just because it's Vermont, it's a little bit more isolated. So there are people that drive an hour away to come play. So they're going home at midnight. Yeah.
Then you're showering, you got to decompress.
Yeah. And you're playing under these fluorescent lights as well. So then it's all right, I'm wired now.
Yeah, a lot going on. Kristen, just quickly, just on LI Kick, and then we'll move to some other topics. How did you get started with LI Kick? And then, how does that kind of just blossom from there?
This is my 6th year with LA Kick. So 6 years ago, it was November of 2018, and me and my friend Nicole, who I think you've met before, we were trying to do more things in our area, meet new people and everything. And a lot of people were like, you guys should join an adult sports league. So we were like, all right, let's look up if we have any of those in our area. So we Google this, and LA Kick was the first thing to show up on Google. But at the time in November of 2018, it wasn't where it is now. So there was no kickball in November. There was none of that. All that was happening in November was cornhole and bowling and the indoor stuff. So we were like, all right, let's do cornhole. How bad can it be? We play at backyard barbecues, whatever. Well, obviously we get to LA Kick Cornhole, and it's professional people playing cornhole, and the boards are 27 feet apart. And I'm like, wait, this is super legit right now. People take this really seriously. And meanwhile, as we know, I'm a very social person. So I was like, yeah, let's go play cornhole and meet people. But I didn't realize that there was professional cornhole players in this league. But thankfully through there, I met people that were like, you should play kickball in the spring. And I was like, okay, I mean, like, sure. Like, I was I was a dancer and a cheerleader my whole life. I was like, I never really played a sport involving a ball, but sure, like, let's play some kickball. So they recruited me onto their teams in the spring, and the rest is history. Now I got so into kickball, and I play that twice a week now. Captain, LD, do all the things.
Very cool. Yeah, I think we've got 10 sports, and I th- I would consider cornhole one of the most beginner sports that you can invite people to. However, to your point, well, actually, what I've learned the hard way is real cornhole players like really don't like playing outside. So I would always recommend for beginner people to,
Pussies.
of course, to join an outdoor league because that's usually where the more beginner players are, and then indoor people are way too serious.
Well, I was asking if people are allowed to bring their own bags to cornhole, or is it LI
Yeah.
regulation?
That was the other thing. I was like, wow, these people are so legit. They have their own cornhole bags and all this stuff. Meanwhile, I didn't know how serious cornhole was at all. I was literally just going to meet people, which I did. It served its purpose. I met people who were like, let's go play kickball. I was like, perfect.
Do you guys feel that they're adding all these ridiculous sports into the Olympics? Not saying that kickball and cornhole are ridiculous, but can you see them adding those to the Olympics? I feel like cornhole.
Cornhole's going to be eventually
Cornhole,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cornhole
I
for
mean,
sure. I don't know about kickball.
I mean, they have like I've seen kickball on TV. I don't know if it's professional kickball or what the
there
deal with that is.
there are leagues that are more professional than ours. I mean, they're fast pitch leagues, and there's certain different rules that, and we play in a couple of those too, more on a national level than local. Cornhole, I think, is one of the more legitimate, and I think the beauty about cornhole is typically there's one set of rules,
I was
right?
just gonna say
And
that. Yeah.
everything's the same no matter where you go. I'm assuming cornhole is a more American sport. I would just a pure assumption, like someone just fucking put two pieces of wood in their backyard and started throwing corn in it.
Or Australian.
Yeah, sounds like an Australian thing, an outback thing. Yeah, Dom. Most people do bring bring their own bags, and they get pretty protecting of it. You know, no one can use them, but there's just hardos everywhere in every sport.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. That was another thing I had to discover and learn, that some people take things really seriously. Not everyone is a social player like me. And some people are really hardcore, like this is their life.
So switching topics a bit, Kristen, just on so I know you are a league director for LI Kick, is one of
Mhm.
your many jobs in life, but what do you do kind of full time during the school year?
So during the school year, I'm a health and phys ed teacher for high school students. So my job is never really boring ever. I also, like, within phys ed, I have a lot of certifications. So of course, I think that one of my strengths as a phys ed teacher is that, like, when you think of a phys ed teacher, you think about just like playing sports, and that's fine. Like, we have that also in my school. But I think what made me a little more marketable as a phys ed teacher was that I have like yoga, dance, like Zumba, pound. Like, I have all these like other fitness certifications that they were very interested in, because they were like, you can reach the students that are not really into playing sports. Like,
Mm.
you have students that like don't want to go to phys ed class because they're like, I hate sports, like I hate this. But wait, I would do yoga, or I would do dance, or I would do, whatever. So I think that's really what I do in phys ed at my school. I teach like those classes that like reach the students that maybe aren't the typical athletes.
That's an interesting point. I didn't think about like the yoga thing is an interesting one, but to your point, like Zumba, I
Hmm.
wonder though, this is just my insecure. Like when I'm in high school, am I going to be dancing Zumba? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm too embarrassed to do that. Maybe
Right.
I'm too embarrassed to do it now. But what do you find? Like, do you do yoga classes or do you incorporate that or do you still lean on like more traditional sports?
So especially when you get to like the high school level, they can kind of pick their electives when they get to a certain grade.
Mhm.
So they can pick what phys ed they want to be in. Like, so if they just want to do yoga, dance, whatever, they would just pick that, and then I would get those students. But if you're like, no, I just want to be in a traditional phys ed class with sports, you would take that and you would have like one of my colleagues then.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they
I
have
feel
the
like
choice as they get older.
yeah, yoga's a cool one. I wish we
Yeah.
had yoga when I was in high school.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it's cool. And you know what? The kids all said that like it really helped them during like their tests and like all that stuff. So it was good.
Dom, what and go to we went to different high schools, Kristen, but both private schools. I feel like my PE, I don't really remember too much about it, but I think it was just more like basketball, shooting around, probably a lot of mile runs and track, that kind of crap. I don't,
We had
Dom,
to
do you
do a lot
remember?
of thing. We had to
Yeah,
run the mile all the time.
yeah, we had to do like these ridiculous fitness tests, like that
Yeah,
one with the
right.
hamstring when you like push
The
the
fitness
thing
gram,
like
wait, that still
that.
happens. That's still a thing. That's
That
like
shit, it's so ridiculous. You go in cold, like you're not warming up at all. You're like, all right, let's see how flexible you are.
Like can you touch your toes kind of thing?
the
That
sit and
one?
Yeah,
reach.
yeah, yeah,
The sit and
yeah,
reach.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we all took it very seriously as a competition. So,
Yeah.
um,
Kristen, like when people are doing that, are you keeping tallies? And if people don't touch their toes, you need to adjust your fitness classes? Like, what the hell is the point of that?
So yeah, they have to do in New York State, we have the fitness gram test. I don't know if other states have this, but I don't think so, but or maybe they do, or they have some version of it, I guess. But we do the fitness gram still till this day. However, when we were younger, yes, we remember running the mile and stuff. Now it's not the mile anymore. I don't know if you remember. I think it kind of changed. Maybe when we were in high school, it changed. Now it's the pacer test, where they run back and forth. You're like running back and forth.
You're
mhm.
doing
And you have to keep
suicides basically, like baseline to baseline?
yeah, and we're not allowed to call it that either.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's a good point.
we're not even allowed to say
Yeah,
that.
that was a tough name for
Tough.
that.
Yeah, right. I was going to say that's what we know it
Man,
as.
that's a good one. That's a good like TC that's changed for the back.
Yeah. So, but it's about keeping up with that pace and it gets faster and faster and they have to keep up with it. So, yeah, basically, we read to the students at the beginning of that unit. We say, okay, this is what you're supposed to be scoring for your age range, which, by the way, they lowered the standards during COVID because kids were not getting as much physical activity. So now the numbers are actually a little lower than when I first started teaching. Um, they do that now. So the pacer, they still do the sit and reach. That still happens. The trunk lift. So that's where you're like lying on your stomach and then you have to sit up and like we measure a ruler from your chin to the floor to see your back flexibility. What's
That's a
another one?
new
Oh,
one.
still the curl ups and the push ups. That's still one also. So yeah, I have to like that's how we start in the beginning of the year. We actually start them off with fitness gram, like right out the jump, like beginning of the school year.
Establish those those parameters. We had in my school, we had the mile, we had the 50-yard dash, which was
Oh yes,
fun.
that's oh when we were younger. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because you could like race your friend. It'd be
Yeah.
like two people at a time, and you just go on the
Yeah.
football field and do it. We also had pull-ups,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is tough.
I
A
hated
lot
that.
of kids can't do pull-ups,
No.
and then we had sit-ups as well. It was like, how many sit-ups in a minute can you do?
Yes, I remember
Oh,
all those tests too. They had to change it, I think, to make it more like I don't know.
Inclusive.
Yes.
pull-ups is kind of tough.
Pull-ups
Yeah,
is
Pull-ups
very
is
hard.
so
You have to weigh nothing when you're a
yeah.
kid because you have no.
Pull your own body weight, like absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
Where, Kristen, like, just to go back to the dancing piece, did you what'd you go to school for? Did you study dance?
So yeah, I would dance my whole life since I was 5 years old. I took every form of dance you could think of my whole life. And then when I got to college, I was a health ed major and a dance
Mm,
minor. So I danced in
cool.
college too. And then I got my master's in phys ed. So
What from a dance, and this is where like I know nothing about the arts, and I'm being educated every day. But when you are in dance, right, and obviously that can mean different things. Were your aspirations to be like a professional dancer growing up? Did that shift? I'm just curious about that.
So I actually knew that I was going to be a teacher from the time I was a kid, actually.
Aw.
I, you know, my younger brother, Nick, who's also an LA kick. I'm 5 years older than him. And I used to literally make him play school like every day, like when we were kids. Like I always knew I was going to be a teacher. But I thought that I wanted to be an elementary school teacher, which I laugh at right now because I could never picture it now. But when I was younger, I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And I originally, actually, that was my original major. I actually went in as an elementary ed. And then I did my first like couple of observations in classrooms. And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I was like, no way. First of all, I would, in elementary school, I was like, I can't do sixth grade math. Like, this is so hard. Like, what is this? And like, it's not the math that we had growing up. It was not the same way it was taught. Like, also math was just never my strong suit in general. But I was like, I can't teach this. This is wild. Like, I can't do this. Also, elementary school students, it's a different kind of classroom management, different kind of behavioral problems and everything. And at the time when I was my first year of college, when I was doing all these elementary school observations, I was coaching. I was coaching cheerleading and dance at a high school. And I was like, wait, I really kind of like working with teenagers. Like, I like this age group. Like, and I didn't know. I had no idea I was gonna like teenagers, like working with them and everything. But from coaching, I was like, I really like them. And so I started asking them. I started asking the girls I coached. I was like, guys, I think I want to be a high school teacher, but I don't know what I want to teach. Like, what should I teach? I was like, what subjects do you guys really like in school? And they were like, you know what, coach? They were like, you should be a health teacher. They're like, I could so see you being a health teacher. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like I never really thought about it. But then I was like, you know what? I am really into health and fitness and all that stuff. So yeah, why not? And that's when I changed majors, like right there. And now I teach, I've never taught any other grade level but high school.
It's interesting. I like the aspect, and Dom, I met one of her former students actually at Cornhole. This
Right.
like random girl. I've never met her before. I don't know even how.
Damn, Kristen, you've been around. If you got
She's
former
like,
students
I'm
in
a lot
adult,
older than you think, Tom.
she's like, I don't know how she connected the dots, Kristen, but she's like, oh yeah,
No,
do
I
you
know how
know
she connected the dots. She sees me post LI kick on Instagram all the time. That's why.
Okay. That's kind of funny that she's like, do you know Kristen? I'm like, do I know Kristen? I've known Kristen for many years. We run different leagues together. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But I think it's interesting that, you know, for Dom and I, or at least for myself, I won't speak for Dom, but we'll typically reach out for advice to older professionals or people that who have done this and get their input on, oh, what should I do or where should I navigate my career? I think it's cool point where you reached out to the folks you were teaching and
Yeah.
saying like you almost identified kind of a trend or identified something that allowed you to pivot your career in a direction that one you wanted but also that you saw was needed. And I think that's like a big aspect here where people will choose maybe a path that they're really excited about, but there might not be a need right in the marketplace, and that's just it, right? We have all these like made up majors now, and all this like freedom to choose what path you want. But I
Yeah.
think it's cool that you actually worked with people you were teaching to say like, where do you think I should go? Where do you think I'm good at? Like, give me feedback, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I started like realizing that I wanted to work with teenagers because I really enjoyed coaching them. And I think that there comes like a big stigma with like teenagers. Like, a lot of people are very afraid to be high school teachers. I actually just convinced one of my friends to switch over to high school from elementary also. And she was so nervous. And I go, I promise you, you're going to like it so much better. I was like, just knowing my friend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people like my mom's a preschool teacher. She wouldn't trade it for the world. She absolutely adores working with 4-year-olds. Meanwhile, I'm like, I could never see that in my life, like ever. But she is so good with 4-year-olds. And she tells me all the time, I could never work with high school kids. I don't know how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Very
really like
cool.
meant for, like, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool that you have an impact. And to close this out, I talked to Lindsay about because she's got, I think, a few teenage age clients, and it's such an impactful age, right, on your overall well being and
Oh, yeah.
becoming a young adult. And like, I don't know, high school is so confusing, man. And you're learning about yourself, you're learning about your peers, you're trying to push really hard to get into college, right? That was like a huge aspect of just how
Yeah.
good can you be here for 4 years in order to get to that next level. And then you're also just trying to not let go of being a kid,
Yeah.
which is a challenging aspect. So super cool. Yeah, I love that.
I
Maybe,
love that for you.
yeah, I love that for us. So now that it's summer, have you been traveling this summer? I know you're a pretty decent traveler.
Yes, I normally am. This summer, I do a lot of traveling with my family, like my siblings and like everything. Like, my Nick's work schedule was like a little wild this year, so we're kind of keeping it like in America a little bit this year.
Yeah,
But last summer we went to Sicily, and that was one of my favorite trips like we ever did.
it's
I
awesome.
absolutely loved. We went to Taormina in Sicily. That's where we stayed. We went to like other parts too, but like our base was Taormina, And I don't know if you've ever watched White Lotus, but the most recent season of White Lotus
Yeah.
took place in Taormina, Sicily. So it was when I went, the show had like just finished airing. So everybody was like obsessed with going there. Meanwhile, I was like, I had my trip booked before this show even got big. But they loved it though. They said like the locals there were like, we like that it's bringing tourism here and everything. Like they were okay with it, you know. Then they were
Cool.
like, a lot of people were asking like to go see the sights from White Lotus and everything. So, but
Yeah.
I just loved it. It was beautiful there.
I'm sure TripAdvisor is going to jump in and make some White Lotus tours or something
Oh,
like that.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sicily, so nice. This summer, like I said, I went to Cape Cod, Nantucket like a few weeks ago. That was like my trip earlier in July. I might be going to Amelia Island, Florida toward the end of the summer. But I also have gone to a lot of other really cool places as well. And we have family in Italy and Spain and France also. So sometimes we'll go see family there when we're over there.
Have you guys seen the backlash in Spain of tourists getting things thrown at them?
Why is that, Dom?
I think they're like smaller, like Spanish towns that are being overran with tourists, and they're basically, it comes down to the Airbnbs where all these companies are buying up Airbnbs and then phasing out the local people. So the local people are retaliating by throwing shit at the tourists.
Basically, Kristen, like there's all these videos going around where if you're a tourist, you're just sitting in like a cafe and locals are walking past you, throwing crap at you, booing you. It's just like
So this is from CNN. It says protesters in Barcelona have sprayed visitors with water as part of a demonstration against mass tourism. Yeah, they just go up to them when they're like at a cafe and just spray them.
My family
like, shoo.
So I'm going to Italy. Well, I'm going to Milan and Amalfi Coast for my honeymoon in a few weeks.
Oh, nice.
So super pumped for that. We're in this final stages of planning for the wedding, but also like honeymoon happens 3 days after. So we kind of have to make sure everything's buttoned up for both. And something Dom, and you'd appreciate this because it's related to a gift that Dom got me. I'm like going through things that I just want to be practically prepared for from a travel perspective. And one of them is getting our air tag set up for our luggage. And I was like, you know what? That's something, because I don't know, Kristen, if you ever heard this quick story where we went to Africa last year and we had to connect. We actually did a few days in Paris and then connected through Amsterdam, and our bags were left in Amsterdam on the way to Africa. So we didn't have our bags for a few days, and it was a lot of chaos. Just no one knew what was going on. But I think the way if I recall, someone at the airport, not in our group, but someone who also had the same issue, had an air tag and was like, oh, look, it's still in Amsterdam. And it was like 14 hours later and we're on the ground. So that's practical tip number one for myself, is setting up the air tag that's right behind me, and getting Lindsay set up as well.
Well, I think even more important than that would be to pack a spare change of clothes in your carry-on.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way as well.
Definitely.
I would agree, Dom. I would agree. I'm actually thinking about, we had these, Kristen, I guess they're travel backpacks, but backpack is an understatement. They're the biggest duffel bag you could ever think about, but they also can
have
your back. I think I'm going to use that, because what I hear is to get to our hotels, we have to walk up like 200, old ass steps on the Amalfi Coast.
A lot of stairs in Amalfi, yeah.
And I was like, dude, I might as well just like bring something to put on my back instead of like these rolling, of course, Lindsay, I think, wants the aesthetic of a roller bag, but I think I'm just going to backpack it.
Yeah, I mean,
any tips, Kristen, from you based on your travels?
There's definitely a lot of stairs in Amalfi. But some of these hotels, like they're like aware, so they'll send somebody down to actually like help you. It just like depends on your situation and like where you are. But yeah, I have been pretty lucky with Europe. The only time my luggage ever got lost was in America, actually, and it was like, I think flying from like Denver to New York, my suitcases ended up in Boston somehow. I have no idea how. Like Boston was not even anywhere in the itinerary. I'm not really sure how they got sent there. But yeah, I had that. But thankfully it was on the flight home. So I was home and I was able to like get a toothbrush and like
Yeah.
whatever I needed. Like that wasn't in there.
We just landed in Tanzania, and we actually had like an emergency stop on the way. Like it was a pretty tough day, and then we, basically Lindsay has like 4 different Lion King t-shirts now because we had to go buy clothes in Africa at some like random store. So yeah, I mean, we're super pumped for travel. I think something that Dom has taught me as of recently, it's really not that hard to book your own tours or excursions or things to do. I think that's from an international, that's been a little bit overwhelming for me at times where I don't know.
Well,
I don't
planning
know
your
why. Like I
ours.
felt more comfortable just booking the States, and maybe just because I can envision it. But Dom just went to Mexico City and used TripAdvisor for basically everything
Yeah.
and looked through that. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to do probably something similar for my honeymoon because when I was talking to my travel agent who helped me get the hotels and everything, he made a good point. He's like, well, if you purchase, let's say, a boat tour, right, on Amalfi and you're in Positano and yada, yada, what if it's like iffy weather that day? Then you're kind of screwed. He's like, just wait till the week of or the week that you're there because he made a good point that everything there's so much of those tours. Like, for example, boat, it could
Yeah.
be 50 companies that you can easily find that will do a boat tour. And then the hotel could also set you up. Now, obviously, through a hotel, it maybe is a little bit more expensive, but using TripAdvisor, I think, is a good tip that Dom taught me.
Yeah, also my sister-in-law, Alexa, who she is like I'm usually the food person on the trips. Like we all have our jobs. I book all the restaurants and everything. I'm the food person. She does like a lot of our tours for us and stuff, and she uses Viator a lot. I don't know if you've ever heard of that company. She goes through them a lot.
Yeah, I think it's similar to TripAdvisor. I
Yeah,
know
very similar, I think.
on
Yeah.
the TripAdvisor groups, they were like TripAdvisor line, Viator line.
Yeah.
Oh, Viator. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she used a lot to plan a lot of our excursions and everything.
Dom and I had a really good time in Paris where I think we timed it poorly, where it was the day we landed, but we did a food tour. And since that's all I ever want to do in new cities. So we're doing one in Milan. But we're doing it the day after we land, it's because the jet lag is going to be pretty rough and
Yeah, yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
Because we were literally falling asleep, like in Paris, eating, stuffing our face with like cheese and meat. And it was so much fun. And the food was great. The tour guide was awesome. Like, bad about the tour, it was just, we were so, because none of us slept on the plane. So we just pulled it all nighter and just went through it. And I don't even think we ate dinner that night. We just went back and slept after
Oh,
the
I'm
tour.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we canceled the dinner reservations.
I know. You're probably so stuffed from the food tour.
So, Kristen, something that I wanted to get your thoughts on is like weddings, right? So I've got my wedding coming up. I know you've been to plenty of weddings in your day, but really more specifically, Nick's wedding, your brother, which is about 2 years ago now, which is
Mhm.
crazy because I kind of remember when they got engaged,
Yeah.
which is insane. Dom is my best man, and sure, like what do you how involved were you in planning, your brother and your sister-in-law's wedding versus like what were like the days leading up to it, the chaos, like from a sibling perspective?
Yeah. So it's definitely different being on the like related to the groom or like being a bridesmaid for the bride. Those are
Sure.
definitely different roles happening. It was Alexa, my brother's wife, is the most organized human being in the world. Like, and I thought I was organized. Like, she puts me to shame. Like, she is very organized. So she had everything. And she was also just like the most amazing bride ever, like not like stressed about anything. Like everything was just taken care of. Like nobody had to think. Like you literally just had to show up, which is insane because like I'm used to like always being in charge of like everything all the time. So it was so nice to just like show up. As far as like what role I played, like I definitely helped out when it came to the bachelorette party. That's usually a big role for me because I'm the trip planner. So I plan like not even just hers, like all my friends. Like I have a very big role when it comes to planning the bachelorette parties. And also I was a bridesmaid obviously in the wedding as well. And then my brother's best man was our other brother, but my other
Right.
brother is mentally disabled. So when it came to like the speech and everything, I actually like wrote it with him and then I read it for him. He stood up there with
Oh,
me, introduced him and everything, but then like I read it for him.
that's really
Um,
cool.
so yeah, I was kind of like doing a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. We have I think Dom, you're planning to come down maybe Thursday or something. I forget what's your
For the
travel.
wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took off Thursday and Friday, and I have off Mondays as well. So driving down on Thursday.
Yeah. So we've got rehearsal, Christian on Friday,
Yeah.
wedding is Saturday, brunch on the typical routine there. And yeah, I mean, my brother and I are very close. He did a great job with the bachelor party, which was super simple. Which hopefully, I think I made it pretty easy for him to plan, which was nice. Literally last night at dinner, Lindsay somehow got roped into another bachelorette party in the winter in like February. They're gonna go back to Nashville. I'm like, damn,
Oh my
like
god.
these
Is that
things just.
where did she go for her bachelor party?
She did Fort Lauderdale, getting naughty in Fort Lodi. That's yeah. You like that? I think it's pretty good.
I know, believe me, I know all the hashtags and themes.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't like. I don't even know what I'm gonna need Dom for, but I know I'm gonna need him. I'm sure it's more emotional and just like keeping me the fuck calm and whatnot, and rehearsing things with me or whatever I gotta do.
It's gonna be rubbing your feet.
Whatever you
Cold
gotta do,
towels
you
on your
gotta do.
forehead.
All right. Yeah, that's right.
Usually the
The
groomsmen,
steamed
like,
feet.
their day looks so different than like the brides and the bridesmaid days.
Yeah,
Like,
you guys are just makeup and getting ready, and
We're
it's
just
just
gonna
like,
be
hair and
playing like
makeup starting at
Dear
like 6
Die
in
in
the
the
morning.
hotel room.
yeah,
Hair and makeup starting at like 6 in the morning. It's like literally the longest day of your life when you're a bridesmaid. It's so long the day.
I want to play Catan in the morning, and just
You guys
hang.
feel like, even so, like when the photographer goes to the wherever the groomsmen are getting ready versus where the bridesmaids are getting ready, it's like completely different vibes.
Yeah.
Like my brother and his friends were like hanging out, like chilling, and then like the hair, makeup. Who's next? Okay, like you're next. Switch chairs. Okay, like it's just like literally. That's like insanity. Like the morning of getting ready with bridesmaids and everything. But it depends
Yeah,
on the vibe. It depends on the vibe of the crew. Like I said, my sister-in-law is like organized. She has a calm demeanor just like in general, and that's just going to reflect on everybody else. Whereas like if you're with a very stressed out bride, that's going to like cause a lot,
yeah. That
you know.
the latter is going to be our wedding. I know it's going to shake out. It's just a lot. I know it's going to be chaos, but we got literally the presidential suite in the hotel, which is, man, I think like it's the size of my home. It's such a big space, and like so, which is good. So the girls all have room to roam, if you will, and hair and makeup are being done there. So I think we're getting breakfast catered in. Like everything will be set up for success. I'm sure there will be a lot of stress the morning of, but
There's just like little random things that happen sometimes that you're like, oh my God, no one planned for this to happen. Okay, what do we do? But
right,
like, luckily, what's nice is being in your 30s, a lot of people have been brides before. So those people know how to like jump in and be like, it's okay, we got this,
sure,
whatever. I've never been a bride, but I've been a bridesmaid a bunch of times. So I also foresee like a lot of things. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to ease what's happening? And like usually you just don't want the bride or the groom to be the stressed out people the day of. So as long as you have like supportive
yeah,
people that are like, I got this, no worries. What do you need me to do right now? And you run and take care of it so they don't have to stress, because like you guys have so much on your plate that day. That
right.
is really like there's so much planning that goes into a wedding. It's insane.
Yeah, we're finding that out. It's like 18 months of planning for a 5 hour party, which is
That's
crazy. And I like if I my idea when we proposed and we were looking at venues and then we start seeing prices, it's like, why don't we just go to Italy and just have a smaller wedding? But that did not fly in the family or friend group. So but I'm super pumped for it. Like I think now that it's here, it's all like these fine details. I'm writing my own vows, so like I'm working on that.
a fun day. It
Dom's
really is.
writing his speech, so I hope that's a banger, right, Dom? All right, a lot of confidence.
Tom, you're all your speech. You're ready to go.
I'm all ready.
Three
I have,
three to four
I have my
minutes,
team
Dom.
working on it.
Yeah, chat
Ooh, three
GPT.
3 to 4 minutes. He gave you some time.
Dude, I know. Someone asked Lindsay the other day, and she's like 5 minutes. I'm like, no way, that's too long. Like, it's
no,
just
but
no good. If you're talking for 5 minutes straight, you're definitely running out of content. Like you're not hitting the hard points.
yeah,
Listen,
my
my
friends told me a minute.
philosophy my philosophy is that no one's gonna remember your speech if it's good. They're only gonna remember it if it's bad.
Just get out.
So
Classes
just
be
be a
there.
game manager, you know, just don't do a turnover. Like just get that first down and move on with the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's so true. I've been limited to a minute with like almost all the people I had to speak for. And then also because they were like, we don't want to waste time with speeches. We don't want this night to be
Dude,
about
me
something.
neither.
Yeah. So they like limit
I
me
can
to
do a
like a
minute,
minute.
Justin.
No, it's because we got to talk to the because there's three speeches that are happening. Dom will be one of them, and
Yeah.
I know I've been to a wedding where I think it was like 40 minutes of speeches.
Yeah, me too. I've been
And
told.
it was so stale and it was tough. I mean, like,
Yeah, and like people then try to do like inside jokes that
no,
only like
never,
a
never
few
works.
people will know. Like, don't do that, you
Nope,
know?
don't do
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
No.
yeah.
And
So,
also like now a new tradition. So like my best friend that just got married, we didn't even do speeches at the wedding. We did them at the rehearsal dinner. She was like, you know what? The most important people are in the room right now.
yeah,
This is who I want to hear the speeches. I feel so bad when I go to weddings and like nobody's listening and everybody's just like doing their own thing while the speeches are happening and then tune them out. She's
yeah,
like, we had us do it at the rehearsal dinner. I was her maid of honor. I did mine at the rehearsal dinner. So did the best man. And then that was that. The night of the wedding, we just danced and had a good time.
yeah. We're doing so. We have three parents saying something at the rehearsal, which I love. That took some convincing to because I was like, we're not having six speeches the day of the wedding. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the Dom, and then the new thing, Kristen, is people have maid and maidens of honor. That's a whole thing.
Yeah, I was a maid, and then her other friend was a matron of honor.
I never heard of this until
Yeah,
like we got engaged. I'm like, oh my god. So Lindsay has two people saying the speeches on her side, and
I
then
was
we've
just
got
part of
Dom.
that also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So no pressure, Dom, but I think you're gonna crush it. You know, I'll we're golfing at our venue, Kristen, actually in like 2 weeks. So Dom, I'll give you a tour of the grounds. You know, we'll see where you are, and you're gonna hit it home.
Hit it home.
You're
Hit
gonna
it
do
home, baby.
Hit a home run.
Yeah. Well, Kristen, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we got a chance to connect. It was really fun to learn about your background a little bit because I really only know you from like LA Kick perspective. So this was a ton of fun for us.
Yeah, this was so nice chatting about everything, and I wish you all the best at your wedding. Dom, I hope you
Aw,
do a good job with the speech.
Oh my god, thank you.
thanks for the good vibes. Awesome, Kristen. Well, thanks.
Alrighty, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.